Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm a giraffe.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 571. Happy Halloween, Mr. Somich.
Happy Halloween, Magic. Yeah, I like your style there. It's the like young kid dad costume where like it's super easy. It's nice.
Yes.
And comfortable. It gets cooler later. Don't worry, we're gonna be nice and warm. It's a good look, Magic. I like it.
So you could choose whether or not you want to answer this. But do you wear anything underneath? I've just got a tank top and basketball shorts because I need like pockets. This one doesn't have pockets, and you nailed it. Being a small kid dad, like I need to have somewhere I can put like the car key.
Yeah, I don't have any pockets underneath. I'm actually going to bring a pillowcase and fill it up with high noons. That's my plan. And then I'll put my phone and my phone and my wallet and everything in there. And then we can just pull a high noon out at some point and just throw the empties back in there. Figure the pillowcase will get lighter as the night goes. It's perfect.
Mike Wilson says, did not even realize it was Halloween until you guys said it right now. I mean, I remember being
it's Halloween. I was fun.
I've actually worn this on air before. I wore this we were on air for Aaron's birthday. It must have been his 39th. Maybe it's 40th. I can't remember. For his birthday for Dudes Who Bet Dudes Who Bet Daily. And so I surprised him with it. Oh no, Shoddy. She's stuck in the runway. She's trying to get to San Diego for the Breeders' Cup.
Not the runway,
no.
That's
hurry
never
up,
fun.
hurry up, Shoddy. Listen, take a plane, take a train, take a car. I've had issues traveling there with the other two options, and someone was like, well, take a plane. I was like, no, didn't you hear me? I've had issues with the other two. I'm not going down in a plane going from LA to San Diego.
No, I was trying to make it down there, but like trick-or-treating with the daughter tonight. And let me tell you, there's nothing less I would like to do in my life than drive to San Diego from Santa Barbara on a Friday morning. If you've lived in LA, lived in Southern California, you understand the traffic dilemma because you have to go through LAX, you got to go through Orange County. I figured I'd have to leave at like 5 a.m. to make first post, somewhere around there, just to be down there by 10 a.m. So,
I think the issue you would have is that you like once Halloween was done and Lily went to bed, take like half of her haul from trick-or-treating. And that's going to feel you through the night as you drive there. Like, that's the only way to handle that.
Just make the move. Yeah, I thought about just heading out after tonight, but then you have to deal with a hotel overnight and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, I'm good.
Safe travel, Shoddy. Have fun. Of all the people going to the Breeders' Cup, it's not you and I who live in California. It's not. I'm a lot closer than you are. So I have even less of an excuse. And then it's not Aaron and Jared who own the company. It's Shoddy, who's the fan in Arkansas. It's like, yay, Breeders' Cup. She's like, it was so much fun with you, all of you guys last year. I want to do it again. And we all went, yeah, you go. You go first, Shoddy. We'll be right behind you. No, there we go. I do want to say we are going to, at the end of this show, just run through our tickets and probably top pick for each of the races that are part of the Saturday Pick 5 ending in the Classic. The Classic is in the middle of the sequence, right? It's like race 8 of 12. So we're going to cover races 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. In that's the first like middle pick 5 sequence, I guess, that they have. So we're going to do that on the show today, but that is at the end. We're just going to run through our tickets. What this show is going to be is a nice little Q&A back and forth. You got Breeders' Cup questions. You want to ask us, who do we like better, this or that? Over under 1.5 Bob Baffert wins, or half a Bob Baffert win, actually, probably. So yeah, ask those questions. Let us know what you think. I have to do their tradition. I didn't have time to make a Halloween-y version of it, but it's time for Riders Up. All right, Breeders' Cup World Championships. We are 25 and a half hours away from the first race. I finished my handicapping Tuesday night at about 11:30 p.m. and like locked it in, sent in my picks. And I woke up Wednesday morning and I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Breeders' Cup. So it's Thursday afternoon. Final thoughts and tickets and adjustments. I guess overall, what are you most looking forward to as we wait for the live chat to send in some questions for us?
Man, I think that Car Ramrod kind of brought up one of the big things I'm looking forward to, the payouts at this year's Breeders' Cup. I all the pick fives, all the pick fours, they are great betting opportunities. I think we have one really short price favorite in Torpedo Anna. I expect that you're going to see a relatively short price on Cogburn. Outside of that, short price is not allowed this Breeders' Cup. We're going to see prices left, right, and center. I think there's some bombs that have a legitimate shot. The Turf Sprint, I think, is a wide open race. The race you've got up here, I actually like a 20-1 shot that I used on my ticket. This is just going to be a fun Breeders' Cup from a price and betting perspective. I also think the storyline's awfully interesting with City of Troy coming over. You've got Fierceness, who's trying to kind of stamp his mark as a great horse. We had some of those storylines in the past where it's this great horse trying to cement the legacy, right? With like horses like Flightline coming in and everyone excited to see Flightline. The storyline to me now is who is going to be that horse, right? Is City of Troy as good as people hope that City of Troy is going to be? Can Fierceness come back and run this monster race and prove that he was the best 3-year-old in the country? So I'm excited to see some of that aspect. And then I'm excited to see some of these European horses turf sprint, because that's been a weakness of Europeans over the last decade and a half, right? It's gotten better the last couple years. And the A team is now coming this year. I'm excited to see what the Europeans can do in the turf sprints after they've dominated these turf routes for so long.
Damn ads on here. I fully agree with you on that. It's officially time. Last year, honestly, was the time to stop discounting Euros. And actually, that was the first time I ever bet a Euro in a turf sprint race in the Breeders' Cup, and it worked. And we got, as Colson still remembers a year later, we got 3-1 on Big Evs, and very excited that Big Evs is back. I don't think he's got much of a chance. I didn't play him in the turf sprint this year, but he's been a cool horse. A quick side note, I learned over the summer that after the Breeders' Cup, they were offered, like, they said they had over 50 offers. It's small-time connections that own him, bred him and stuff. And they got offered, like, millions and millions and millions of dollars for 50% ownership or 100% ownership of the horse. And they turned it down because they're like, we're never going to have a horse like this. Is never a horse that we have. So we're going to run him. We've known him the whole time. We know what's best for him, where to put him and all that stuff. So it's a really great story. If he wins, I'm going to lose that race, but it's a fun story with Big Evs.
Yeah, you got to ride the wave in some cases. Like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for that ownership group. And so they might as well just say, have it, let's go. Let's see how good this horse is, and then see what happens in the after career. And if Big Evs wins again this year, I bet all those offers will be upped and rolling in. And maybe then you cash out. Maybe that's the point where you decide to do so. But at 2, it's a little more difficult than at the older ages.
So the reason I'm going to bring this question up is because I have one that I'd love to get yours. But as far as hot takes for the Breeders' Cup, that's always fun. What is one? Excuse me, did I mute it in time?
You did. You got it.
Oh, God bless. The one time I got the mute correct. Okay. Anyways, retake on that sneeze there. What is a really hot take that you have for the Breeders' Cup, or unpopular opinion? They kind of fall into the same. Depends on what side of the aisle you're on.
I'll go to the classic. No American horse hits the trifecta.
Oh.
2 Japanese and City of Troy are going to be your trifecta this year in the classic. So we'll go, no American horse hits the try in the classic.
Can I tell you, I really respect that play. My top 2 horses are not American. The only 2 horses I'm using in the pick 5 ticket we'll give out are not American based. I love that play. I'm guessing we have probably the same top 2. I did not put Dermasoda Gake in the top 4, but I really thought so. I put Fierceness 3rd, just like when we do the top 4 for the betting Bibles, just because it's like he's that one horse that when he runs his A race, nobody even in this field, unless City of Troy is Justify 2.0, is going to beat Fierceness. But other than that, I've got 2 European-based horses. I think Dermasoda Gake's got a chance. Ushba Tesoro hasn't quite looked like last year's Ushba Tesoro that was phenomenal coming into the Classic, but if he hits the try, would I be shocked? No. Sierra Leone, I thought on Dudes Who Bet Sports, Papa Dude and Aaron were discussing Sierra Leone now, like all summer long, everyone was expecting Sierra Leone. Now he's going to win. Now he's going to win. And he kept getting third. He kept completing the try. He never did what you needed him to do. So now everyone, based on the odds, no one's going to bet him to win. Everybody's given up. At 12-1, everyone's like, all right, I need him to get third. I need him to get third. And the mother effer is going to get fourth. Just fifth, just to piss off everybody's like, he's going to get third or fourth for sure because of that late kick. He's, maybe he's tired. He's had a long year.
Yeah, he has had a long year, and I don't love closers at Del Mar. That's an issue for me with a couple of these horses. And I put Forever Young on top. I went with the rail here, 6-1 on the morning line. I went back and watched the Derby, and you look at the other races Forever Young is running. He's never been that far back. He got a terrible break. He was 16th place early in that race, had to make a huge run late. That's just not what he wants to do. I think the field size affected him quite a bit. I don't mind the rail draw for him. You can use some of that tactical speed, sit in the middle of the pack in this race and be able to set yourselves up. If I was going to use anyone from the U.S. contingent, it would be Fierceness or Sierra Leone. But to me, like, again, Sierra Leone, the closing aspect, don't love it. Fierceness, I really have some issues with this post. Right? Because if you think about what Fierceness has done over his career, he likes being out in the open. He likes not catching kickback. Arthur's Ride's faster than him if Arthur's Ride wants to go. And I think Arthur's Ride 100% sends from that 12 post. If Arthur's Ride goes, clears Fierceness, and you've got Next, who's I think going to be out there trying to kind of push out to it, you all of a sudden have Fierceness sitting in a pocket, sitting behind horses, catching kickback in that race. I don't think that's how he does his best running. So if he wants to get free, he has to go 3, 4, 5 wide on the first turn. And then all of a sudden, he's way out of his game. And that, to me, was the main reason I ended up leaving Fierceness out of the try. I put Ushba Tesoro in at third instead of Durban Sotagate. I think both of them are live in this spot to hit the try. I ended up with City of Troy second in this one. But I love Forever Young and the version coming in. I don't know if you saw any of the workouts, but he looks like a bigger horse to me. He looks like he matured throughout the Kentucky Derby over to this Breeders' Cup Classic stretch. And it's a trainer that has won one of these races before. He knows what to do, knows how to get these horses ready. So I think Forever Young is a big shot here at a 6-1 price. I know there's a lot of love in the chat for Next here. Look, I think Next is interesting. You haven't had this horse face this level of competition before. Been dominating at those longer races, the marathon races. Cutting back shouldn't be an issue. The question is, where is he going to sit in this race? Because he's been forwardly placed in all of these marathons, but those marathons had significantly slower early fractions. So is Next now one of those middle-ish closer horses? Is he going to try and stalk and run faster early and see what happens late? To me, it kind of opens a couple of questions up on Next, and the post sucks for him too. Like if he draws the 4 post, the 5 post, I think it's a little bit different world, but from that 14, it's awfully tough.
Yeah, I mean, he's fast enough when he's facing those horses, but he hasn't been facing grade 1 kind of horses with speed. I'm with Vachon here. I think Next is going to be the second half of the pack for sure. If you get 14 out there, I don't think he's in the top 7. Well, I guess by the time they hit the first turn, he's not going to be top 7. It's not going to be unless they use him and absolutely use him. And then if he's on the lead, I have to make this joke. If he's on the lead, is Luen Machado going to stop riding him off the turn? Is he?
Don't talk about the jockey of the week a couple weeks back like that.
That was the best part of the whole thing. Oh, you mate a mistake. And Equibase is like, jockey of the week.
He had a lot of wins outside of that. Probably should have had one more.
He did. I honestly, I kid. I feel bad for Machado because he genuinely made a mistake. And
it happens.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a different rant for a different time. Let's see. TBL 4R1 says too many pace horses in the Classic. The race will start at the end of the first quarter. That's a good point. So let's talk about the pace. I like where this is kind of headed. Who's on the lead? Because they've got that entire stretch at Del Mar. Who's on the lead going through the first turn? And more importantly, as they get onto the backstretch?
Well, I mean, it's got to be It's got to be Arthur's Ride. And, someone mentioned it in the chat before right here, Mr. T. I'm sorry, MKT. Arthur's Ride could be loan speed, will be a monster price. I don't fully disagree with that. Like, if I was going to try and go for a big price upset here, I would definitely take a horse that's more forwardly placed than one that's coming from the back. Someone like Highland Falls, who probably should sit a very good trip from that 2-post, or someone like Arthur's Ride out in the 12. The Travers for Arthur's Ride is the Whitney's from Arthur's Ride is the race you point to. Unfortunately, and we've talked about this before, they sealed that track, and we saw speed dominate the later half of the card, and they sealed it right before the Whitney. Thanks a lot, Naira. And Arthur's Ride able to go gate to wire. Delmar's speed favoring, so that's a positive for Arthur's Ride. And generally on these weekends, speed does very well. So I don't think there are worse horses to take as a shot on top, but Arthur's Ride generally seems like one of those either wins or finishes like 8th in this race. So I wouldn't be using him in any other spot in the Tri or the Super. I think he's clearly going to be your horse in the lead when we get to the first turn, around the first quarter, at the first half, and it's going to really be, hey, how long can we last in this spot? Other horses that I think are going to probably be forwardly placed here, I do think you're going to see a horse like Mixto is going to be up there. I think Forever Young has some pace. I think Fierceness is up there. I think Highland Falls is up there. So it's going to be a contentious group behind Arthur's Ride, and we'll see if anyone decides to try and go with Arthur's Ride.
So if you remember last year's Breeders' Cup Classic, Arabian Night had post 12 at Santa Anita, similar track. Santa Anita slightly bigger, but they go a mile and a quarter out the chute down the stretch. And Flavien Prat didn't he go like sub 22, just under 22 seconds in the opening quarter to get Arabian Night out and clear and over. And I don't think that Arthur's Ride has that kind of Arabian Night, like turn it on kind of speed. And I don't think Alvarado is going to push him like that. So I think that you're not going to see Arthur's Ride be lone speed. He's going to have Newgate to contend with to his outside. Frankie's going to push Newgate. Fierceness is in a good spot. I like where Fierceness drew. If you support Fierceness, because there's not much speed outside. Like, Tapatrice, drop back. Sierra Leone, drop back. The other horses, by that point, I think you've already outrun them. And then you've got closers all to your inside there. Highland Falls is the one at a bomb price. If someone that's just completely out of left field wins this, to me, it's him. Because if you look at what he did against Arthur's Ride, who's a slightly better price on the morning line, he sat right behind him, going a mile and a quarter at Saratoga. Arthur's Ride did what he wanted early. Pratt just waited until the horse started to falter, and he went Cape Cancia. And now you've got Saez aboard, who's going to ride him probably very similar to how Flavien Prat did. So between those two, from a forwardly placed horse at long odds, I want Highland Falls.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, especially with the post. The 2-post, not a bad spot there. I think City of Troy going to be interesting as well. He is a horse that's been in front for a lot of his races, around all of them. I'm not sure where he fits into this mix, but he has some of that early speed. Yeah, you mentioned Newgate. He's probably going to go from the outside. And I heard this as well as Avashan mentioned here. Christoph said that they're going to try and push Derma, and he's got early speed too. So there's the pace scenario here projects to be a little bit of a mess. And it's why I kind of like those middling horses. Again, it goes to Forever Young, who should sit a very nice trip in like 7th or 8th in this spot. But that's kind of the horse I'm looking for. If it completely collapses, all of a sudden, then the U.S. contingent loves it, right? Because it's Sierra Leone, it's Senor Buscador. They're going to be absolutely Tapatrice even flying late and seeing if they can get up and get the job done. So we'll see if you do get that really, really contentious pace, because all of a sudden that brings a lot more horses into contention.
You guys are great with these questions here. There was another one that I saw. Let me see if I can find it. I did see that Michael Olsen said, there it is. City of Troy does not hit the try. That Mike and I disagree, but that is a very hot take. He's the 5-2 favorite. I know Jeff Siegel struggled with the morning line, trying to get it right so far since he took over from John White. It's not an easy job. I thought that it was damn good of him to put City of Troy as the favorite. I thought for sure he would just put Fierceness as the favorite. Overseas, right before the draw, I looked, and City of Troy was plus 175, and Fierceness was 7-2. And I was like, oh man, it's too far spread. He can't make Fierceness the favorite, and he didn't do it.
Yeah,
that was a good morning line.
I agree. I'm happy that City of Troy didn't show up at like 5-1, 6-1, 8-1, whatever you want in the morning line, because like to me that would have been one of those where everyone's like, I love City of Troy, and then he's a quarter of the price on race day, and that never is fun. So especially with these big races. So I do think he is I think City of Troy goes off as the favorite. I think Fierceness goes off as second choice. I think that's pretty clear as day. After that, it can get a little bit more murky.
Hot take for me, it's on Friday. Let me find the race. So I love East Avenue in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. My hot take is for that race, and that is Chancellor McPatrick is off the board at 3-1.
Ooh.
So this is the horse who is absolutely zero early speed, right? In 3 races, we've seen what he is. He's kind of like Sierra Leone as a 2-year-old, which if I told you that, you're like, that's awesome. Look at how much money Sierra Leone has made so far. But that running style of dropping to the back, going 2 turns on the dirt, Mike, you already talked about it. It's not what you want at Del Mar. He's also drawn post 10, which is right around the spot Bolt Dioro drew in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in 2017. And he got stuck wide, and he ended up as good as he was at that point in his career. He didn't finish 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Chancellor McPatrick's very talented, but his running style and this outside post, I think, screw him up very badly. And as much as I love Flavian Pratt, I don't think this horse is in the top 3.
I think he is. I'm impressed with what Chancellor McPatrick has been able to do, and the fact that you don't need to go with this horse and you can really just tuck back, I think is a positive thing. Not a huge field in 10, big enough that you're going to have some traffic issues, but not too crazy. I don't like East Avenue in this spot, specifically because of Getaway Car. Getaway Car drawing the 2 to East Avenue's 1, I think, is a absolute worst case scenario for East Avenue, because Baffert has 2, Getaway Car and Gaming. Gaming wants to come from off the pace. When that happens, we all know what Bob Baffert does. Well, he has 3, a Citizen Bull as well, I should say. He's sending Getaway Car. Getaway Car is just pedal to the metal, go. And all of a sudden, you're sitting with a different scenario here for East Avenue where, hey, guess what? You don't get the easy lead. You're not going to be able to just hang out and run out in the front. And like if we do end up seeing Getaway Car crossover on East Avenue, I think it's a world of trouble for East Avenue. And look, Getaway Car, 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs his first 3 races, went 22-1, 22-1, 22-4. I mean, this horse has a ton of early speed. I think it's an absolute send job here by Getaway Car, and sets up for Citizen Bull and Gaming to both be able to make moves from off the pace. And that, I think, really opens the race up. I understand what you're saying with Chancellor McPatrick, but the way that I see this thing playing out, I think there's going to be speed on it. I think someone's coming from off the pace, and it makes it hard to assume Chancellor McPatrick is going to miss the try if that is the case.
You know what I think about Baffert putting that horse in here, Getaway Car? Should have left it in a motel bar.
Oh, I see what you did there. Pete coming in saying,
every time somebody brings up that horse's name, like it's happened now, the songs in the chorus is in my head, so
it's just stuck in there. I disagree. I think Citizen Bull goes and Getaway Car's lead blocker. That could also happen. Like that, there's Citizen Bull goes. I'd like the thing with the 3 Bafferts, and with 2 of them possessing as much early speed as anybody in this race, it really sets up for some chicanery, right? And especially since you also have Gaming, who wants to come from off the pace. So you have kind of the perfect setup here if you're Bob Baffert, where it's like, I can absolutely do some fuckery here with everybody who wants the lead, and then I can set it up for a horse that's going to run pretty well here. And so I especially since Gaming is your lowest choice here, I do think that they want to set it up. Irad Ortiz gets them out there. I put Rosario on top here, which is just something I'm just waiting to be able to send out the tweet. I can't believe the ride that Jonathan's Way just got. But Jonathan's Way, a horse that came from off the pace in his first race and was on the lead in the second, if he can show some of that early speed and sit behind whatever this mess of a first turn is, I think Jonathan's Way has a big shot in this spot.
You know the one problem, though, with Jonathan's Way.
Swing! Tentpole!
He never gets the love that video deserves. Yeah, that's the problem. Is Rosario's on there, and I'm like, I don't know what he's gonna do. I think Jonathan's Way is a good horse, but I also was looking at this, and not to sound like a biased bitch, but it's like, is an Ohio bred gonna win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile? Really?
No, you can't think like that anymore. Can't think like that.
Okay, it's Ohio. Yes, I can. Right. It's Ohio.
He just romped in the Iroquois over Owen Almighty, who's
Okay.
a very good horse too. Like at some point, you just got to put your bias away. He's one of the most impressive Saratoga debuters. Like, you can't. You can hate on Ohio State and nothing else.
Fine. There was another question I wanted to move on. I also agree with Ron. Ron says it's the British Cup race that he's most unsure about it. I love East Avenue, but I've loved him since before he debuted. Like, I was watching his workouts and everything, been so excited with how well everything's gone that I don't know how much my head and heart are competing with each other on this one. The next race after this is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, or is the one before it, Juvenile Fillies Turf. And Max Witten asked a great question. Lake Victoria, the one horse for Aiden O'Brien, seems to be everyone's favorite, everyone's single. How does she lose? And what is your pick 5 strategy Friday if you're fading her to go for a bomb?
If you're fading her, you better have an opinion somewhere else, because you're going to have to spread in this race, right? Like that to me is the problem. I like the 2, I like the 4, I like the 7. I think that there's a couple other interesting horses like the 8 from Europe that are coming in here as well. I think the 1's gonna be tough to beat here. I really do. She's got speed, but she doesn't necessarily have to have the lead. She's led in the majority of her races, going 6 and 7 furlongs. So I think she's going to have more early turn of foot than most Europeans do. And then you kind of go through here and you're like, okay, how is this going to play out? Well, I don't love this position thought processes in, specifically being hung wide, or because I expect thought process is going to be hung a little bit wide in this race, facing the best field she's ever faced. And so for me, it's a little tough to get to the 7 on top. Heaven's Gate to me is the most interesting. The other O'Brien here, if you want to make an argument. I mean, I've played multiple tournaments where I'm like, okay, I'd like one O'Brien, I'm putting that on top, and I'm putting the other O'Brien underneath, and just playing the exacted that way. And I think that may end up being the route to take. There's I've talked about Torpedo Anna. I think she's a great a horse to play on top and to look for a price underneath in the exacta. I think that's a great way to attack that race. I think that's a great way to attack this race. Like I said, I like Lake Victoria. But if I'm playing against her here, I'm using the 2, I'm using the 4, I'm using the 8, I'm using the 12. I'm trying to find a price to beat her, and I have to have a big opinion in one of the other races.
Listen, I'm going to single Lake Victoria. If you're going to take a shot against her, I respect it, and I understand the tickets chart different opinion, but I understand what you're going for here. Just to kind of translate the time form ratings, which for Lake Victoria, her rating has increased at least 10 speed figure points with every start. She's had 4 starts. Last time form rating was 108. If you are the most aggressive in terms of comparing that to a buyer, it would be about 18 points. That's a 90 buyer. The best in this field, Nitrogen with a 78, Scythian with a 77 for the Miss Grillo. Like, thought process is the only one that comes close for Phil D'Amato, and it'd be great for the Little Red Feather folks if she won, but I've fallen too many times for the California horses running in these 2-year-old turf races in the Breeders' Cup, and it never seems to work out well.
It's tough. It's tough, especially taking this step forward. And she was a heavy favorite. The horses that she beat don't come back and run in here in a lot of cases, and so you're just like, all right, we got 2 Tigerish and Super Speed that are back, but she was 1-9 and 2-5 against those 2 horses. So are you really excited about trying to play those horses back? Personally, I'm not. And so, like, if that's the case, then it's like, okay, well, what does thought process beat? And then there is a relatively decent amount of speed in this spot. And so if that's the case, how is thought process gonna be able to run a race from the post that she drew? Like the race 3 back, she was in the 9 of 9 hole, but that was in a maiden special weight, and she was too wide around the turn. Like the race where she won the Juvenile Philly Turf there at Del Mar, she drew the 2 post, got a perfect trip, and then she drew the 5, but it only a 6-horse field in the Surfer Girl. So yeah, she could take a step forward. Would be awesome if she's able to pull it off, but feels like it would be a tall task for her.
Hello to Kevin. I guess Blinkers Off must have just ended. Good to see you there. Christopher says, love the costumes. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Chris also says Ryan Moore won't flop on this favorite, meaning Lake Victoria. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one now. Morning line wise, thought process 5-2. She's going to take a lot of steam. You've got 8-5, 5-2, and everybody else is 12-1 and up. So two very heavy prizes. So Ed thinking I'm going to single this race, but single the second choice. So you've got a good one going there as well. Let's see. Let's go back to Saturday. Half hour in. There's another question I was going to ask you and I can't. Oh, there's a lot of different wagers. The wagering menu for the Breeders' Cup, it's the most diverse of anything in horse racing over the 2 days. What wagers are you most excited to play? Because I know you're definitely a multi-race guy.
I like the Turf Pick 4 on Saturday. I think that's a lot of fun. It's, if I remember correctly, the Turf Sprint, the Filly and Mare Turf, the Turf, and the Turf Mile. I think that is a fun bet that can absolutely blow up. And then I like the late pick 5 and actually the pick 5 recovering. But specifically, if you're pressing the pick 5 recovering, because I think that you can get some prices and it could kind of balloon up. And then the late pick 5 is an absolute. Like it could pay six figures. It could pay 100,000 without too much having to happen because of some of the prices that you have available. But I think that Turf Pick 4 on Saturday is a phenomenal wager because I'm against Cogburn, and that's going to be to me one of the big races. That's the key of Saturday, whether or not I'm right or wrong that Cogburn gets beat in that spot. Because if he goes down, I think it's going to absolutely open up those payouts in that segment because you're going to see him. Be bet pretty heavily, be relied on pretty heavily. It's the U.S. turf sprinting route where people are going to talk about how hard it is for Euros to win that race. They were within a neck of it last year. We've seen them win the 2-year-old races in turf sprint before. They're bringing their A team. I think that is going to be one of the key races that hinges on whether or not my day goes well or not.
Sorry, I was trying to type up the next question. I am most excited. I love the 2-day bets where you can do like the future stars into its adult version. So like the juvenile into the classic, the juvenile fillies into the distaff, the juvenile turf into the turf. Like those are the ones I'm excited about because if you watch the show, if you play pick 5s regularly, like you don't hit pick 5s on a regular basis. You don't have a very strong win percentage on them. So it's hard to put together 5 straight winners at the Breeders' Cup in a succession. But if you give me 2 races, like say I think I'm a really good turf route handicapper. All right, I'll do the juvenile turf, the turf specials, or maybe the turf pick 4, like the all turf pick 4, like you're talking about. Maybe I do the all dirt pick 4 if I'm Marshall Graham because I hate turf handicapping, but I'm a whiz kid when it comes to dirt handicapping. Maybe that's the route I go. So there's a really diverse wagering menu, and I think there's things out there for everybody. So I just was curious which ones you were looking forward to, especially because now you're not tournament minded, you're not live money tournament minded.
Yeah, right now we're not, and that's that to me is the turf one I think is really interesting. Let's jump to the sprint real quick because I do think that's worth at least talking about here. It covers the pick 5, so it's part of the pick 5 that we're going to be talking about here. I think this has the opportunity to absolutely blow it up with a price here. Cogburn is going to go out. We all know that. Silver Bullet, AG Bullet, one of my old friends. That he's going to try and make Cogburn's life miserable, and he is just as fast.
Oh, the turf sprint. Sorry,
turf
I thought you meant the dirt sprint. Sorry.
And he's going to try and go just as fast as Cogburn and make his life absolutely miserable. And I think that if that takes place, all of a sudden this absolutely gets wide open. Bradsell is a phenomenal horse. Underrated at the 7-2 price. I think it's wild that horse is sitting at 7-2. We'll see what they actually go off at. Believing on the Rail is a horse that was close to Bradsell a couple times, now draws a much better spot there. I think that's a horse with a shot. Stardust, who is 30-1, was within a length of both of those horses. That's another one that I think has a shot. And then Star Mystery. I realize that this horse is kind of a little bit of the forgotten one at this point for a lot of people because we've seen this horse in the U.S. I wouldn't be shocked if Star Mystery finally comes through here and you're getting 10-1 there as well. I think this race is absolutely wide open if you get around Cogburn, and I think you can get around Cogburn.
Will you do me a huge favor? Can you pronounce the name of the 10 horse for me?
Icy Vagnu.
Oh, it's close. Icy Vangu.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, talking about it on whenever.
It's such a fun one. Icy Vangu. You think you're listening to like someone in not English saying like the name of a player or a horse, like in a race, like really, because it's very rapid. It's like 2 or 3 different names together. Icy Vangu.
It's one of the, like, I got to give credit to the people who call these races. That is just another curveball because you have a lot of these interesting names that come in here. And this one actually not that tough, but Icy Vungu Vungu, not the easiest one in the world to say.
It is cool that there's a truly a world championship feel to this, in the sense that we have horses from around the world all coming in for it. You have this, I was trying to remember which race she was going to be in, but there's a jockey from Australia, Rachel King, is coming over to ride a Japanese horse. It might be in the juvenile turf on Saturday. I'm trying to find her. There she is. Yeah, she's on Satono Carnival. So an Australian jockey, 19 horses from Japan, 2 horses from South Africa, including Icy Vungu Vungu. Like, this is, and then of course all the Irish and English horses. Like, it's crazy the amount of, and all coming to, of all places, Del Mar to San Diego.
It's crazy. It's nuts, man. It's fun. I got a question for you.
Yes.
If Forever Young isn't, if the classic is taken out, what race does a Japanese horse win?
Ooh, okay. I have multiple Japanese horses picked on top. And I think that it starts Friday in the very first Breeders' Cup race. I put a Koro Sieg on top in the juvenile turf sprint. That horse broke a 23-year-old track record in Japan as a 2-year-old in his second career start. He did 6 furlongs in 107-1. There are not horses in the adult turf sprint on faster, harder turf courses in America that can do that in 107-1. That's nasty fast. So I went with him.
I don't disagree. I've got him in second, so I think that could definitely kick it off. Can I give you a crazy one?
Do it. I love it. I'm all for it.
Let's go to the 10th on Friday. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.
Okay.
Santono Carnival, the inside horse. This one is really interesting to me. 20-1. And Santono Carnival is bred to go long. And so when you look at the past performances and you look at the first race where he wins by 7, going 7 furlongs, they actually cut this horse back last race. And it was a more difficult race for the horse to win. You could kind of see it. Well, now we are getting the stretch out. And I love the post draw. You're getting a lot of the 2-year-olds getting coverage from Japan. You're not hearing Santono Carnival enough in my mind. 20-1. I think that horse is live in this spot to be able to pull off the upset. Do like the 4 El Quadra as well, but I think the 1 is the price in here in Santono Carnival.
Yeah, that's the one that's got the Australian jockey. Rachel King is coming in to ride just that horse, which she's never also been aboard in a race, which is interesting. I have Satono Carnival 3rd in that race. I love that play. So since we're not going to be covering this race, I have Aomori City on top. Since I've been working at FanDuel 3 or 4 different times now, I've been in there at Saturday morning starting at 5:30 covering the overseas races when there's a big festival. And I was on air for 2 horses that I was like, when I saw them, it's like, if they go to the Breeders' Cup, I'm playing them, and those horses are here. They're both top picks for me. One of them's Notable Speech in the Mile. The other one's Aomori City. His win in the Vintage at Glorious Goodwood in July was just like, I got chills. I was like, Breeders' Cup, turf, juvenile turf. That's my play right now. The Vincent O'Brien didn't go his way. Yep. And I know some of those horses coming back, but William Buick could be on the 4. He's on the 12. He's staying with that horse instead of riding El Kudra, who he rode to a good second in the summer, rode him to 2 other victories in his career, and yet that's where he shows up.
What do you make a New Century in this spot?
I'm chucking both the Woodbine horses. I didn't think that what they beat was that great, and I thought that I wanted to see them just like modern games that just destroy them.
Yeah, knock it out of the park.
Because I also didn't use Dream On, and Dream On's back in here and was just 2 lengths behind them.
Yeah, no, I didn't use the 2. The 11, 12, and 13 were tough. I'm 4-1 in this spot, and then 11, 12, and 13 were in consideration for the 3rd and 4th spot for me, and so I may have to move up to 12 based on your little rant there, because I ended up going 13, 11, I believe, because I went with Brian Moore on the 13 there, and into the last race you mentioned beat both the 11 and the 12, so. Interesting to see what happens here, but yeah, the 11 and the 11 is one of those horses where you kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, what do I do with him? What do I do with the 2? What do I do with the 4? What do I believe in here? I thought that El Quadro was impressive enough overseas to be able to kind of give the benefit of the doubt that race, because he didn't have the cleanest trip, got bumped around, and also the draw here is a big difference for me. When you're going a mile on this Del Mar turf, heck of a lot easier to win in the 1 through 6 posts than it is to win in the 10 through 14 posts, and that's a big concern for me in this spot.
Yeah, I hated the draw for the 12 and the 13. I would just be like 12, 13, box them, call them home. That's it. 1 underneath. And then it's still how I'm playing it, but I'm not as confident in that. I also think Zulu Kingdom from the 5 post, not to win, but to get underneath, ignored Pratt and Chad Brown at the price. So you've got that going. I didn't notice this. Number 6, Iron Man Cal. Yeah, Cal Ripken Jr. +1, 129 says, as a lifelong Royals fan, it'd be rude not to take the 6. Yeah. I don't think the horse will win, but I mean, you put like $2 on the horse. You get a big price if it wins.
If you're playing name hunches, this is a great day to do it. Because this great weekend, I should say, because you're going to get the prices on your crazy names. Like, you're not playing your names and they're paying 5 to 1. You're getting 30, 40, 50 to 1 in some of these spots. So, I don't hate the idea of playing prices if you want to. Another Little Red Feather horse there. They've got they've done a wonderful job for their clients to get so many horses here in California for the Breeders' Cup.
Forgot to show you this one. Dodgers.
Ooh.
+110 to win last night. It was like, easier money literally couldn't get printed.
Where are you betting?
This isn't a real betting slip. So there's a retailer, like the retail machines. Yeah. There's a FanDuel Sportsbook retail machine at the office on the 10th floor that people have built up the bankroll. There's some good sports bettors in there. So I just put $5 on, I should say rather, JD Fox put $5 on their Dodgers to win last night. And I was like, plus money? Hell yeah. So nice. It's a souvenir. It doesn't actually count for anything, but it's fun to be like, that's the winning ticket.
Well, it's not printing money then.
Kind of. It's printing fake money. How about that?
There you go. Printing fake money.
All right, so we're 13 minutes out here. Let's go through our pick 5 tickets together for races 4 through 8 on Saturday, and then we'll have a little bit of time left for people's questions, or if you have questions about how we're playing it. Let me get the race set up here. There we go. Pull up the right tab. All right, so this race is races 4 through 8 starts with the first Breeders' Cup race. That's a filly and mare sprint. Race number 4, 7 furlongs the distance. I've never understood why the fillies and mares go 7 furlongs and the boys always go 6. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, you've got a great field in here. Society's 3 to 1. Ways and Means is 5 to 2. Zytlo 6 to 1. Vava at 4 to 1. Lost last time out. How's your ticket started out here?
I went with 2 logicals and 2 crazies. So I respect Ways and Means quite a bit. I beat that horse last year. That was fun. Tried to beat her earlier this year. That wasn't so much fun. I think she's a class of the field deserving favorite. Vava, we've talked about this one for Sri DeVoe quite a bit. Another very, very good horse. So they're the 2 logicals that I am going to be playing here. Let's go with the illogicals, though. Let's start with Pleasant, the 3 horse here. I think this is actually Bafford's best chance to be able to get a win on the card over the weekend. This is a horse that has run fairly well. You saw like the early part of the career. This is when this horse was 3 years old in 2023, runs back-to-back races, runs well, but then kind of gets sidelined. And we see the return here, a nice return at Los Alamitos Racecourse. The horse ends up stalking a little bit, winning clear. Needs to take one more step forward, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the horse can, especially since Baffert places her here in this spot. So I'll take 12 to 1 here on Pleasant, who should improve second off the layoff, especially that long of a layoff for Baffert and Hernandez. And then go to the rail. One of my crazy bombs of the weekend is the 1 horse Frost at Dawn, 30 to 1 on the rail here. This is a European horse that ran into turf the first time in the Franklin at Keeneland. I thought ran awesome. If you go back and you watch the race, the horse broke 12 out of 12, was in 11th place, didn't get a clean trip at all, able to close into it, and just misses in a lot of ways. Finishes 5th, but just a length and a half off of what was basically a blanket finish behind some of the best turf sprinters. If you kind of rewind back to earlier in her career, she started out on synthetic, and then they sent her to Maidan to run on dirt. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that she is a very capable dirt horse. Frosted out of a Warfront mare, bred to kind of like this distance. The 7 furlongs, not an issue for me as well. Broke the maiden at 7 furlongs over the synthetic, then ran second in an allowance at 7 furlongs over the dirt down there in UAE. I think that she is awfully live at a 30-1 price, especially if this collapses. And if it collapses, we've seen these horses win this specific race. I think it has a chance at collapsing. So give me the 1 Frosted Dawn at 30-1 on the ticket as well.
The 1 and the 5 Pandora's Gift both were in the Franklin Stakes, and I believe this was their second choice. They were pre-entered rather in the Turf Sprint as well, but I think they realized they weren't getting into that race with either one of them. So they both show up here. And also Pandora's Gift actually last night sold for $850,000, and the new connections don't want to run her in the Breeders' Cup. So the 5 is a scratch. If you were looking to play the 5's a scratch.
Interesting.
Purchased, I believe that I knew who bought her earlier. It's someone who usually runs horses. So I think that because she's 3, they bought her and they're going to run her back next year. They just didn't want to run her in this spot. Anyways, so I went, I just pulled it up. Where the hell did I go? I went 4-7-9 here. We both agreed on Vava. Vava go boom. Vava love 7 furlongs. Vava no love loose horses like Society. Like what I predicted would happen in the Ballerina. Not going to hold that against Vava. For me, that's a scratch-off race. The Madison, to start the year, she's coming off of a layoff. Forgivable. Alva Star, phenomenal. Rest in peace. Also, that was the same day as the Bluegrass. 6 of the 7 dirt races run that day were won by horses that had the lead at the very top of the stretch. It was a speed favoring track. Ignore the Black Sea. It's bullshit. It was not a closing track. The data I gave you just proves it. By the way, the only horse to win that day that didn't have to lead the top of the stretch, it was Sierra Leone in the Bluegrass. So Vava to me is a lock in here, at least to be on the ticket. I went with Ways and Means. I've been a big fan of her at One Turn. I think that she's shown that she's perfect for that. She reminds me a lot of her sire Practical Joke, where she was talented enough that she could hit the board and make good efforts at 2 turns, but you put her at 1 turn and boom, that's where she's playing with gas.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on those two. I'm surprised you put Delitos on there. I thought the last race was very, very good, but the 7 furlongs to me was a concern with the 7.
Yeah, she won 2 back going 6.5 furlongs in an ungraded stakes. I was playing this one where I think that she's progressing at the right time, and with the breeding, she's only been asked to try 7 furlongs once. It's been mostly all 6, but when she's been running, those, I guess, have been the races that she usually goes for. She, to me, is the long shot. Like, that is not one of the top 2 betting choices that I think is really on the upswing here and could surprise. So if I was going price hunting, the 7 would be the one I use.
All right. No, I get it. Society, I'm going to pass on. I respect her, but this is going to be a tough field, and it's very, very difficult to go gate to wire in this race, and that's what Society is going to try and do.
The second leg, that's the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, race number 5, and I went 2 deep. You used both of them along with 3 others. You went 5 deep. The deepest either of us went was 5 deep. This is where you decided to do it.
Yeah, I went with the 1, the 4, and the 12, who I talked about previously. I included Cogburn on here because I'm trying to use some prices in a couple other spots. And then Star of Mystery, the last horse on for me. I actually wouldn't hate it if people want to use Silver Bullet or AG Bullet at this distance. I think that the 5 is the one who gets the lead if the 9 does not. And if that's the case, I think that has a shot there. But one horse at 12-1 would be the one I'm most interested in betting to win. But I do respect the 12 quite a bit as well. I think it's inside and outside here. Who did you end up using, Magic?
So I used Cogburn, but not the top pick, and Aaron gave me a lot of shit for this, and I thought I was going to be like groundbreaking, and then before I even got a chance to talk about her, you bring up Star of Mystery. I think is a sneaky pick. That's my top pick. Star of Mystery, I think, is likely to upset Cogburn the most likely. If you watch that race at Keeneland, I'm not going to blame Flavian Pratt because I'm too much in love with him, but he's given better rides in his career. Yep. He's got more highlight-worthy rides than what he gave her that day, and she still, after all the trouble, some of it may be caused by the jockey that she got into, she almost won. I mean, to go from 7th, 4 1/4 back at the top of the stretch to second, beaten less than a length, and it's a turf sprint. The kind of jet propulsion that she has to have, phenomenal. She's a filly, so she gets a weight break from the boys. She's 3, so she gets a weight break from the older horses. Buick's back aboard. This is the only one that I really think that if everybody runs their best race, she's the one that's sneaky enough to beat Cogburn.
I will say this: Starlust in the past performances, the 4-horse just missed by a length to Star of Mystery. Also been close to the 1 and the 12. It's the reason I'm using the 4 because it's a turf sprint. Anything can happen. But note who Star of Mystery lost to 2 times before she came here. Frosted Dawn. Just bringing it back to last race.
No, I love it. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, 1, 4, 6, 9, 12 for me here.
Also, to the point of why I'm trying to beat Cogburn, if you look at ignore the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs to end last year because something kind of went amiss because he missed a bunch of time after that. The 2 times that he's come the closest to losing on turf, we're going 5 furlongs. We're going 5 furlongs. When he's the record holder at 5.5, he was phenomenal at Kentucky Downs going 6. Like his 5 furlong races at Lone Star, not at Saratoga, not at Churchill, not graded stakes, Lone Star. That's the closest you came to losing.
Yeah, it's true.
Just saying. So we just talked Cogburn into the winner's circle. Clearly, there's no need to go 5 deep there or 2 deep.
Welcome,
race 6. So you went 5 deep. I did not have a single. You did. It shouldn't surprise a lot of people. Torpedo Anna's your single in here, right?
Yeah.
Staff.
Not going to get cute here. I think this is a great race if you're live betting or tournament betting with money. Playing the 2 over in the exacta cold. Talked about this before, but I've had a lot of success specifically in this race, actually playing cold exactas. I don't love Raging Sea, the 6, and because of that, I think it's a great race to play an exacta 2 over whoever you like. I'm going to go on the inside, go with Candied, so I'll play a 2-1 exacta cold here, but I'm not trying to get creative. Look, Torpedo Anna deserves to be the favorite. She's the best horse in this race. She drew beautifully. I get if people want to use the 9, Awesome Result, the Japanese invader, but I think it's Torpedo Anna, and we move along.
I went 2-9 here. I think a lot of people shitting on there it is. I was looking for it because somebody else had also mentioned I have Candied in 3rd. Ramrod 25 minutes ago said Cheap Wild Stab in the distaff with Torpedo Anna in 3rd, and he's playing Awesome Result the 9 and Candied the 1 in 1st and 2nd over Torpedo Anna. We're all on the same page. We think those are the 3 likely horses at least to hit the try. I think Candied is just too much of a nutcase to win. She never changes leads. She's always on the wrong lead, and she's just a little too mentally not caught up to her talent level. So I don't think she'll win this race. Torpedo Anna's cotillion, a lot of people point to it that I've heard that are against her, and they say, well, look, she's getting tired. She barely beat Gunsong. She was very fractious and heated up before the race. Like it was very uncharacteristic of her. So she wasn't her normal self going into the gate. And then as soon as Brian Hernandez got her to the lead and knew that he felt her go to the front, he stopped hitting her. He was just sitting there waving the stick at her, just waving. And Gunsong, it's not like Gunsong came back on her. They just kept that the whole way. Brian was like, I got it. It's $1 million race. Breeders' Cup is the goal. Used up what I needed to. And from all accounts, I've heard she looks phenomenal in the workout since then.
Yeah, I mean, it was also 1 mile and 16th, not 1 mile and a quarter, 1 mile and an eighth where she's better. Like it was one of her worst distances, an effort where she clearly didn't empty the tank. Yeah, it would have been nice if she opened up, but like you said, it was just a stick wave. It wasn't like he was just like really working her over and trying to get her to go. No, she was just doing it herself out there. And so I'm not going to knock that effort. I mean, look, if she runs back to the Travers, the Oaks, the Acorn, the Kentucky Oaks, or the Fantasy, she wins this race. Right. And that's the problem. I can point to 5 races that she can go and run back and she wins this race. And so it's hard to get around her. Again, I get it. If you like Awesome Result, I understand. It's hard for me to see anyone but Awesome Result beat her here, though. Right. I mean, because Candy, I think, could run 2nd, could run 3rd. Torpedo Anna would have to be off her game, and Awesome Result falls over for Candy to be able to win the race. So for me, it's 2 or 9. I like the 2 more. I don't want to use the 2 shortest prices in the races because I do think Raging Sea ends up being the 3rd choice here. So I just singled.
2 scratches that really ticked me off this year. Non-compliant in the juvenile fillies because I was trying to beat her and I knew she'd take money. And Idiomatic because I was so ready to play against Idiomatic and Raging Sea in this race. And Raging Sea will take some money. but Idiomatic was going to take a lot more. And because of that, Torpedo Nano is fucking 4-5.
Yep.
Awesome result, by the way, if for those who aren't aware, awesome result is by Justify. She's undefeated, 7 for 7 overseas. They're calling her just unbelievably talented filly. So that's who she is. 2 races left. Let's fly through them. The Breeders' Cup Turf and the Breeders' Cup Classic are left. First, the Breeders' Cup Turf, not a full field. It'll end up being 13 at the most. They're going 1.5 miles, so 3 turns. They're going to start at the top of the far turn on the backstretch there. How deep did you go? Who did you use?
I only went 2 deep here. This one's interesting. So I like Rebels Romance quite a bit. Rebels Romance is a phenomenal horse. It's hard to knock him. He won this race 2 years ago at Keeneland. I think he makes a ton of sense. So we're going to use the 11. The quote unquote main contenders are the 2, the 3, the 5, and the 6. I'm sorry, not in on Farbridge. So just immediately out on Farbridge. The 5 horse, the 3-year-old trying to step up. I'm going to pass. Emily Upjohn hasn't won a race in forever, and she's trying to take on like the boys here. Don't love that look. And Shire hasn't won a race since 2022. So I'm going to go with Luxembourg. The 4 horse is my other use here. I think Luxembourg makes a ton of sense in this spot. I like the post position, has some early tactical speed. You get O'Brien and Moore. So I'm just going to go 2 deep here. Give me the 4 and give me the 11 to get through this one.
I'll tell you what, I was laughing in a second. 11 for me on top. Loved this horse 2 years ago when you won it. Love him again this year. Don't care about the post. Charlie Appleby is 10 for 20 in the Breeders' Cup. 10 for 20. He's 50%.
Is that good?
Whether or not we're allowed to bet on his horses love to win turf races at Del Mar. He's pretty good. Luxembourg, getting back to what I talked about, like covering lots of international racing. I watched this horse all 3 races this summer. He beat 4 horses in the Coronation Cup. He's a front runner. He just kind of went out there in a 1.5 mile race. Nobody challenged him. So we give him a pass. It was a Group 1 at I'm sorry, not Ascot, but Epsom. And then he went to Ascot for that 1.5 mile race, and he got destroyed. We're both using Rebels Romance. Was third. Blue Stocking, who was, if not the first best horse in Europe, the second best horse in Europe, was 6th there. Then was 6th to the horse that, if Blue Stocking wasn't the best horse this year, it was Economics. So faced good horses, but wasn't anywhere close to them. They kind of would use him as the front runner for the other horses. You notice when he went to those 2 races, when there's other options, Ryan Moore did not stay with Luxembourg. He went to somebody else. So I personally, just from having watched him, I'm against Luxembourg. If he wins, would I be shocked? No, it's Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Like, can't be surprised by that. I'm just going to pass on him.
No, I get it. Nothing you said is incorrect. I liked the race last time out. I watched it back. I don't think he goes to the lead this time. I don't think you have to worry about that in this race. You're going to have plenty of speed anyway. So it's not a situation where you have to worry about setting up a horse in this case. So I think that you have a good shot here with the 4. And the 10 got mentioned, Wingspan as well. If I was going deeper, the 10 would probably be the other horse that I'm going to use here. The other Aiden O'Brien horse, who I think has a world of talent. It's a step up in class. Don't love that we're a 3-year-old filly coming in here, but 3-year-old fillies have had success in this race in the past. So I'm not going to completely discount it. So the 10 would be the other price here at 12-1, but I'm just going to end up 2 deep here, go 4-11. I do think the 3 hits the board, but I don't think the 3 wins.
I ended up going 5 deep here, and you nailed. So we talked about Rebels Romance, and I was laughing because you nailed 3 of the 4, and you're like, "Well, I'm not gonna do this because this, I'm gonna do this." Now the good news is, I did not touch Farbridge. I've almost never touched Farbridge. The 5 JRB is the last one in for me. He was 2 lengths within Economics, 2 races back on firm ground. Last out, 1 on soft going. He's never gone 1.5 miles either, and that's to me the big question mark. Rishi Prasad, who's kind of one of the 2 international racing experts we have at FanDuel TV, he says from watching this and talking to people that they're not confident. They're not super confident that this horse can do that. So they're trying it. They figured this was a good chance for it. He's 4-1. If you want to leave him off, that's fine. But I just know from what I've seen, he's really good, but he is stepping up. He's flying across the globe and he's stretching out. As far as who's just the Shahryar, he keeps good company. He was 2 lengths behind Rebels Romance in the Shima Classic. He was 3rd in this race last year at 25-1. I think things could work out where he wins. Wouldn't shock me. Emily Upjohn. Somebody asked, why is everybody like Emily Upjohn? 2 reasons. Number 1, it's Frankie Dettori reuniting with John Gosden. I mean, that's like
Yeah, and he's ridden this horse before too, and they had a lot of success together.
A lot of success. Won the Coronation Cup head-ups. Almost won the Coral Eclipse behind Paddington when Paddington was a freak last year. So very good connections. She's kind of like what they used to do with Warlike Goddess. She's here instead of the Filly and Mare Turf because of the distance. They wanted a 1.5 miles for her. She's 2 for 9 at the distance. She's 5 for 9 in the money going this distance, and she was within a half length of Blue Stocking in a Group 1 at the Cura. We talked, she was last time out. She was about a quarter behind Blue Stocking in France in a Group 1. She's been running against extremely talented horses. Content won the Group 1 race 2 back. She was just behind Contents in the Filly and Mare Turf. So she's kept really good company. She hasn't won, but I don't think she's without a chance. And she's got a great draw, and she's got Frankie effing Dettori aboard.
Good point. And she also she lost by 10 to Luxembourg. So, that's important. That's a very
in a
good
race
horse.
where there was zero pace and he went to the front.
That's a very good horse she lost to, though. Let's just remember that as well.
All right. Breeders' Cup Classic. He's a multiple grade 1 winner. He's good. I'm not saying that.
No,
Breeders'
okay.
Cup Classic. The big event is right smack dab in the middle because of TV scheduling. It's the one downside to having it in California is that the network's like, listen, you can have Saturday afternoon, but ain't no way during football season you get Saturday night. That's okay. Breeders' Cup Classic. $7 million purse this year. 1.25 miles. We all know the players. And I guess the biggest question, because we're on similar horses, how deep are you going?
I'm going 4 deep here.
Okay.
I think it's Fierceness versus the Internationals. I went single that 2 races ago, went 2 deep so I could spread a little bit here. I think Fierceness is the only U.S. horse of the shot. Give me Forever Young, City of Troy, and Ushba Tesoro on the ticket as well. So 1-3-7-9 for me in the last leg.
3-1. That's it. Call him home. That was it for me. All right. City of Troy. He's the fact that Aidan O'Brien, with every amazing horse in history that he's had, says that this is the best he's had, and he knew it when the horse was 2, is mind-boggling. I remember when he won the Dewhurst Stakes, he could have come to the Breeders' Cup with the horse, and Aidan said, no, we're going to shut him down because we want the Triple Crown in England next year. And then he came back and was so horrible in that one race off the layoff that they were utterly confused. And then since then, he's been nothing but phenomenal. And it culminates in the Juddmonte International when he sets a record for that performance that day. And it's a really legendary race for him to go set a record in. Yeah, it sucks that he's never tried dirt. We got that big question mark, and it's a short price. But when there was that big training thing at Subtle. Do you remember that? They shipped him to a synthetic track that was most like American dirt and had him work with 4 other horses, put him behind, put him wide. Watching how he moved, I was sitting there just getting goosebumps. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to win the Classic or not. That is a gorgeous racehorse that is going to be like he's going to carry on Justify's legacy. If there was one Justify I've seen that will carry it on, it's this mother effer.
Well, and that's the reason he's here, right?
Yeah.
The value for City of Troy goes through the roof if he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic after what he's already proven on turf. This becomes just an uber sire, right? It's the unicorn of horse racing sires because it's a Group 1 winner on the turf in the toughest place to win a Group 1 race over in Europe. And then you have a dirt grade 1 winner in the U.S. and in what is, if not, the marquee race of the year for older horses, right? So it essentially checks all of the possible boxes here for City of Troy. He looks like a horse that runs on turf when you see him like on the Del Mar dirt, but you know what? He might be talented enough to overcome it. You just don't know. For me, the big problem, why I won't bet him to win and why I don't have him on top, I just don't want to bet a 5-2 horse that's never touched dirt, just out of sheer just stubbornness. Like if a horse is the favorite and trying something for the first time, it's hard for me to say yes. It's impossible for me to say yes when it's a dirt surface against the best dirt horses in the world. Like, it's one thing if you're like, well, he's going 2 turns for the first time. He's never stretched out before. Or, he's trying the down the hill course at Santa Anita and he's only sprinted on a flat track before. It's a completely different world when he's trying dirt and facing the best horses in the world running on dirt. Like, that's just a little bit too much to bet to win. Again, still respect him. Still I have him in second. Going to use him in the multis. But 5-2 with that big of a question mark, not what I'm going to do. Also, this isn't going to be a race I'm going to be betting a ton of money on. Like, this is going to be one of the lower bet races for me from a just race to race perspective.
Kevin B brings up, it's insane to have this horse as the favorite, though, right? No, I think this is commentary on the lack of a superstar, a consistent superstar in the male dirt two-turn division. I mean, if Arabian Night had come back, there you go. If he wins the San Diego, he's probably here. Muth, if he doesn't, I thought Muth was going to be retired after the Awesome again. He's coming back in the dirt mile, but where's Muth? There's no Muth. There's no Dornock. Like, Fierceness is the lowest priced American, but gigantic question marks about him, as talented as he is. So I'm not surprised, and I don't think it's crazy at all that he's the favorite. I think 6-1 is too high on Forever Young. I think that's going to come down.
Well, we talked about this before the Derby. The U.S. 3-year-olds weren't great. And we've talked about how there hasn't been great older horses all year in the U.S. So is anyone really that surprised that it's not a U.S. horse that's favored in this spot? No. Right? And I get, like, Fierceness Travers looks awesome. See if he can do it here. Let's see if he can do it again. Let's see if Arthur's Ride causes some trouble. We're taking on olders now. Like, there's still a lot of questions for me. So, whoa, there go the poker chips.
There go the poker chips.
It's just, this is one of those races where I'd rather take a shot with someone who's somewhat of a price. Like I said, I'll go Forever Young on top, but I wouldn't talk anyone off of Forever Young, Highland Falls, Derma Sotogate, Ushba Tesoro, Sierra Leone, Next, or Arthur's Ride either. Like, I think that this is one of those where something kooky could happen if we don't see Fierceness, City of Troy, or Forever Young really fire.
We'll give it our tickets for the pick 5. Just going to recap it real quick and then get out of here. I'll go 4-7-9 with 6-9 with 2-9 with 2-3-5 11-12 with 1-3-9. That's $90 for me, Mr. Somich.
I'm going to go 1-3-4-9 with 1-4 6-9 12 with 2 with 4-11 with 1-3-7-9. That's $80 for 50 cents.
The Breeders' Cup Betting Bible, it's available now. Check it out over at racingdudes.com, or if you have a subscription to the Rockets, to the Somobombs, to the Premium Picks, that's included, as well as the 14 betting trends for the Breeders' Cup. Check those out. Those are fun and usually pretty spot on. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Happy Halloween. Enjoy yourselves this evening. And, of course, enjoy yourselves at the Breeders' Cup. It will be live on the Racing Dudes YouTube channel. Somebody's going to be here at different points covering everything with the Breeders' Cup. So, pleased that you joined us. Let us know if you're playing along, and any final thoughts.
Not really. Just looking forward to a fun weekend. Favorite bet for me. What are your best bets? I like Diego Velasquez in the Turf Mile. I think 4-6. 4-6. Notable speech, Diego Velasquez. That's your exact. It's the one I'm most confident in all weekend. What about you, Magic?
Ooh, hold on. Let me find. I had this. Shit. Sorry. And of course, now my computer's slow. I had it written down, my tickets for Saturday. Who did I have as a big single? I don't have one. Why don't I have one there? Shit. Best bet. Why do I feel on the spot? Race number 2, Saturday. Oh, it's the Baffert horse. Yeah. Race 2, number 3, Hope Road. I thought she'd be in the Filly and Mare Sprint.
Look at Magic going out on a limb on a 6-5 shot. It's going to go off at 3-5. Yeah. Unbelievable.
There's an 8-5 just to her outside that people are going to
go off at
bet.
2.5-1.
I'm sorry. Did you ask who's my most likely horse to win at 20-1, or did you ask?
No, that's what your best bet was. Best bet implies being somewhat price conscious.
No, it doesn't. Only to you.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
We got to get out of here. We got trick or treating to go do. Good luck this weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Magic,
and I'm a giraffe.
I wish I had the Monsters Inc. closing song to play right now. Goodbye, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.